All right, so to fully understand biology, I think it's important that you understand the origins of life. We know that bio refers to life, and biology is the study of life. So if we're going to look at life, we need to know where it came from. What was its genesis? Where did it start? So here's a screencast on the current theories with regards to the origin of life. Where did it come from? Let's look at these theories. It's important to know some background a little bit first, talking about the prebiotic Earth, or Earth before life. It's been established that Earth is about 4.6 billion years old. And when it formed, along with our solar system, there wasn't life on Earth. Earth wasn't very habitable at that time. It's estimated that Earth was habitable for life around 3.9 billion years ago. So we're talking about roughly 700 million years without life, or prebiotic. High temperatures, lightning, lots of UV light penetration. There wasn't an ozone layer because there wasn't atmospheric oxygen at the time. A lot of geothermal energy from volcanoes and from the core of the Earth. We need to establish the fact that at the base of the tree of life is chemistry. All of this is based on chemistry. So we're going to work through some chemistry here, talk about what chemicals had to be synthesized and put together in order to bring about life, in order to bring about the molecules that are required for life. So the steps required to build living things. We needed a collection of chemical elements. We needed carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. SNOPS for short. We put these together, we bond them together covalently, and you can make lots of different organic molecules. 4 molecules we're going to concentrate on in particular are polymers of these chemicals. We're talking about nucleic acids like DNA and RNA, lipids, which are very, very important for cell membranes, fats and oils. Lipids are known as fats and oils. Proteins, which are made up of amino acids, and carbs, which are sugars which act as food and nutrients for early life. This is important that we know what we're what's our frame of reference here. When we're talking about the beginnings of life, we're not talking about very complex life forms. We're talking about bacterial life. We're talking about unicellular prokaryotic organisms, and even more simple than that, we're talking about protocells, which were just little membranes full of chemicals. All right, these are pictures of stromatolites, which are the oldest fossils of living things, which are little cyanobacteria that have accumulated along the coast, especially of Australia. But this is kind of the idea we're looking at. This is the atmosphere that we're dealing with. A very primitive prebiotic Earth. Here's a look at a prokaryotic cell. It's simple, relatively speaking. I mean, it obviously looks very complex, but if you look to the right, this is a eukaryotic cell with a true nucleus. All right, eukaryotic means it has a membrane-bound nucleus. Here's our nuclear membrane. Enclosed within is the DNA, or the genetic material. Here's our prokaryotic cell, the nucleoid region, kind of a fake nucleus with the DNA or RNA centrally located but not bound by a membrane. So once again, relatively simple. They're pretty complex. They're smaller and they're much older. We didn't encounter eukaryotes until about 1.5 billion years ago. So before that even, we're talking about prokaryotic bacteria as the first living organisms. Okay, nothing very complex. What do we need? What's the big picture here? Well, life needs 3 big things. Life needs water, life needs chemicals. We talked about SNOPS, CHNOPS, and it needs energy, whether it's UV light, whether it's lightning, or whether it's geothermal energy from volcanoes or from the mantle. 3 theories we're going to talk about. The first one, thermal vents. Think about those 3 things we need. We got water, we have energy, and we have these chemicals that are emitted from the core of the Earth. These elements that are being spewed from the inside. This is a picture of a black smoker or a deep sea hydrothermal vent that are deep running along the different core margins or the different plate margins on the Earth. If you think about the Earth as kind of like a baseball with the seams running around the length of the baseball. This is how these geothermal vents run along the length of our Earth, with thousands of these geothermal vents spewing lots of chemicals at extreme heat, 700 degrees Fahrenheit, with all of these chemicals. Lots of different chemical processes going on down there. There's no sunlight, but there's organisms living down there off of these chemicals. So we have the ingredients that we need. We have water, we have energy, we have chemicals, we have this kind of soup that can create all kinds of very amazing things. Geothermal vents is theory number one. Theory number two, as to the origins of life. We're looking at, well, perhaps life originated in tidal pools or hot springs. We've got pictures of a hot spring and a tidal pool. Darwin theorized that it was little shallow warm ponds that kind of spawned life. Well, we've got water. The chemistry is there. It could have come out of perhaps as organic rain or snow. There's all these chemicals on prebiotic Earth. These are these sulfur ponds. They can, if they dry up, it's known that these organic molecules will spontaneously congeal together, and that's an important thing. We have these chemicals, but we have to somehow polymerize them and put them together. Well, these things dry up, and that spontaneously happens. This can be helped by energy, if there's lightning. If these chemicals get evaporated, they get drawn up into a cloud, you're going to have that lightning interacting with it up there. It comes down as an organic rain or snow. They interact once again with each other on the ground, and all kinds of amazing chemistry can happen. There's an experiment. Stanley Miller and Urey did this, simulated these prebiotic conditions in an experiment that they did, where they had a capsule here they call the oceanic compartment. This is simulating that shallow pond of chemistry. And they put what they thought was in the early Earth's atmosphere. They heated it to simulate whether the energy, there's our energy, whether it's the geothermal heat that would be imposed on these chemicals. You get water vapor. Obviously, it's going to evaporate up. Here's our atmospheric compartment simulating the atmosphere. A lightning, and then they condensed it, and they collected what came out of this condensation. Here's a quick, a little overview. Here's our condensation. So it was going up into the atmosphere. It's collecting, perhaps in clouds. This is what they collected, these gases right here. They ran lightning through it as a storm. It comes out as organic condensation or precipitation, whether it's rain or snow. They let it run for a week, and they tried to see what they collected. What did they get? They got these organic compounds. They got amino acids. That's what they collected. They actually got, they found it was possible to collect all 20 amino acids that naturally exist. You put amino acids together, what do you get? You get protein. Okay? So, there we are. We analyze the composition of what you get protein. They showed how you can synthesize these organic molecules that we were looking at right here. They showed that they could make proteins, which makes up our skin, which makes up our bones, which makes up our organs, all of these different components in our body. So Miller and Urey showed us a lot in this experiment. Theory number 3, Panspermia. Pan means everything, sperm, seed, seed of everything. Also known as cosmic ancestry. It's been found that meteorites that have come to Earth contain amino acids. They contain nucleobases, which are the building blocks of nucleic acids. So panspermia is thought that the precursors to living things, whether it's organic molecules or perhaps even extremophile bacteria themselves, come in and they're incorporated into the geology of the meteorites. The meteorite lands here, and they're introduced into our atmosphere, and that's how life was established here. Once again, it has been found that these things are indeed in meteorites, nucleobases, and amino acids. So another intriguing idea, maybe it's more than one of these theories, maybe it's none of them, but I think they all perhaps have some merit as to the origins of life. So where do we go from here? We have this organic stuff. We have it coming in on meteorites. We have Stanley Miller showed us how it can be produced in his experiments. So we have these organic molecules. What do we do with them? Well, we said we have to polymerize them. We have to put them together in long chains. So we create our organic molecules. We need to put a container around them. So we put them inside some kind of cell, like a protocell, which is kind of a prototype for a very early cell. And then there needs to be some method of reproduction. They have to be able to replicate themselves, and this is where RNA comes into play. RNA first, a very simple single stranded nucleic acid, made DNA, and now our cells can replicate. We have protocells. We have carbs, which could be produced in our early atmosphere. They break down these carbs in a very rudimentary kind of simple metabolism. When they do so, they release carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide builds up in our atmosphere, and with carbon dioxide comes photosynthesis. We know that there were cyanobacteria. They created the stromatolites. Remember those big rocks that were on the coast of Australia. These cyanobacteria evolved the ability to carry out photosynthesis. They started utilizing the CO2. When they did so, they released oxygen, and this is an extremely important step here. Once we have oxygen production, now we're releasing molecular oxygen into the atmosphere. We get an ozone layer, we get protection from the sun, we can move on to land, and life can thrive outside of water, which was a huge step after the Cambrian explosion. So, kind of an introduction to life, and perhaps how we've gone from being very simple prokaryotic organisms to moving onto land, being multicellular, and moving to where we are today.